So this is Unprecedented Crisis. This is a hack of Final Fantasy IV that I made relatively recently, within the past, say, year, I guess. Essentially, most of the changes are gameplay changes, I would say. I change around, the basics of the characters. They still keep their sort of general strategy for the most part, but they're a bit more... I don't know how to describe it, but... I don't know, I just sort of tried to balance them out a bit, tried to make them a bit more interesting, a bit more in line with what you'd expect from Final Fantasy jobs of those types. So, like, as an example, well, let's just take Rydia for example. So, she, in the original game, she had summons, but she also had, like, a little bit of white magic and, like, every black spell, stuff like this. She felt more like a black mage that could summon things more than a summoner, at least in my opinion. So I was like, okay, in order to make her feel more like a summoner, I'm just going to give her summon, and that will be her spells. And I gave her another sort of ability that essentially it calls a random summon out to help you. It still costs MP though, you know, just to keep it a bit balanced, so you don't have, like, you know, Bahamut coming down and saving you every turn. Because, I mean, especially in the early game, you know, like, pretty much any summon at all would be awesome to get off of that, so you don't want to just spam that for free all the time. And, like, you know, Cecil is a Dark Knight and stuff. The Dark Knight version, he gets a few black spells. Not like Fire and Ice, but like the sort of effect spells, so he'll get, like, Drain and Blind and, you know, Mute and stuff. The things I guess you'd expect a Dark Knight to be able to do. At least that's what I'd expect to be able to do. I'm just going to be skipping this dialogue, because for the first part of the game or so, like for the first, say, I don't know, quarter of the game, the plot's all, you know, you've seen it all before. I'm just gonna assume that whoever's watching this is probably a fan of Final Fantasy IV and has seen, played through the game probably at least once, but, you know, probably many times if you're a fan of the game. Anyway, yeah, so the plot is more or less the same for the beginning, and then, well, with some minor changes. But nothing significant until one certain part. And then it just takes a complete 90-degree turn, and things are just more or less new from there on out. There'll be sort of familiar-looking segments, but pretty much new stuff all the way. Oh yeah, walk in all directions using the control pad, and talk to every person you meet using the A button. Nothing like some real meta dialogue there from Kane. Alright, so now I can sort of explore the menu here. So one thing you'll notice is he has MP. It's because he can cast spells, as I was mentioning. So he starts with Poison and Blind. Now Poison is not quite what you might be thinking. Like in the original game, Poison did, well, pretty much nothing. It did like 1 damage and maybe some, like, you had a chance of adding the Poison status, which, I don't know, from my experience, like, took way too long to actually get going. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother talking to those guys. they all more or less say the same thing. I'll do whatever like new stuff there is, but or you know if there's any new dialogue, I'll try to show that off. But I'm not gonna waste time talking to doing stuff that's all just the same as the original. Yeah, Roselle, I'll see you later tonight. You can come up to my room and visit me in my bed. Hey, Cecil! It's Sid! Yeah, I made Sid into sort of a berserker. Like, he sort of seemed like that type of character in the original anyway, like, except for Scan, which was sort of a random thing to put on him. I mean, I get, like, yeah, he's an engineer or whatever, but I don't know. Like, just the rest of his character, like, he's got all these sort of gronky equips and, you know, all this tanky stuff, hammers and axes and heavy armor and stuff, so he felt kind of like a berserker, so I was like, alright, I'm gonna make him the berserker. But not like, unlike the Final Fantasy V berserker, let's say, who is always berserk all the time. Sid in this basically has a command that makes him go berserk, so that way you can, like, you know, you're not forced to berserk every battle. You can just, like, you can still use items with them. You can still, you know, cast Quake off the Gaia Hammer if you want to, or, you know, that kind of thing. Or, you know, change equipment. Heaven forbid. You definitely don't want to be berserk attacking with a weapon that the monster resists, right? Rose is quite a bit different too. She's a lot less of a mage and a lot more of a archer. So she still has some white magic, but it's you know, again, it's the effect spells. It's stuff like haste and slow and you know, exit and float. The sort of status and buffing type spells. Although she gets like common stuff. Basically, she gets this sort of time effects. Stop and stuff. That's pretty useful. Kain is pretty much the same. He has a new command though. Well, it's called Lance, but that's only because there's a 5-letter character limit. It's supposed to be Lancet, which comes from again from Final Fantasy V, where it's sort of a weaker attack, but it drains, so it heals him for however much damage he dealt. Right. Oh, that reminds me. Sid also has another extra command as well. He can, like, oh yeah, dash is what it's called. He'll ram himself into the enemy, and it deals however much damage. It deals damage equal to Sid's hit points. Normally that's a lot, so to balance it out, it brings him to 1 to do that. Originally I was gonna have him like suicide, sort of like an explode type technique. Like maybe he like builds a bomb or something and blows himself up, kind of like how he blew up himself to seal the that crater in the original game. But this way it's a little more usable, I think, if he just takes himself to 1 instead of just, you know, killing him. Yeah, that was another similar type of motivation for the Rydia's random summon command. It's called Help. The idea is that's what she used to get Titan in the cutscene. So she was just desperate, so she's like, help! And then a random summon, happened to be Titan, comes and does this Quake thing. Because like in the original, it's like, oh, she can summon Titan, and then you get her on your team, it's like, oh yeah, let's get this Titan on the go, and then it's like, oh, well, Chocobo, and that's like the only summon that your summoner has for like ever. I don't know. And oh yeah, that's right. So in this one, she learns the summons as she levels up. So just like someone like Palom would learn Fire 2 or whatever, well, she'll learn like Shiva and Ifrit and stuff, and she won't get them from the like. There's no special summon battles anymore. She just gets them all by leveling up. Now, unfortunately, I don't have B button dash implemented in this. There was a patch for it, but I don't really recall why it wasn't attached to this. I seem to recall it was part of like a bigger package, I think, and in addition, I think it also wasn't like 100% working or 100% complete at the time when I was making this. Oh yeah, this is the training room, and I sort of used that to describe the different like the mechanics and sort of concepts that are different in this from the original. Chakra, that's one of Yang's new commands. I'm not going to go through everything here because I'll just be talking as I play and explaining most of this stuff. Did I miss any treasures? Yes, the ones in back. Yeah, so I don't have B button dash, so it's going to be a bit slow going on the walking, unfortunately. But I'll try my best to keep talking and keep you entertained that way. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Sometimes I run out of stuff to say and I just have dead air, but see what I can do. Alright, let's start a save. Actually, here. Change. Okay, that's better. Right there. Oh yeah. So you start with a whole bunch of inventory in this. The idea is that Cecil would have had some supplies on his raid of Mysidia, including one each of Ice Ball, Fire Bomb, and Lit Bolt. But it's too bad I didn't go into my item menu when I started the game. Anyway, it starts with an Ice Ball and 2 holes. The idea being he used the Fireball and the Lit Bolt in the battle with the like in the battle in the cutscene. So that's why you have a whole bunch of stuff here to start. Show off this poison now. Oh yeah, so that's what poison used to be terrible, but now it just does straight up damage and HP leak or sap. Basically, the status effect that's like poison but better. Well, in my opinion, better. It's basically bio except smaller. Jump. Fight Nimp. Ching ching. Oh yeah. So in the original game, the Dark Swords were basically purple katanas, and I don't know. I felt like it would be cool in this to have it so that the Dark Swords had the same sort of like mystic, enchanted looking effect as the Holy Sword. Give sort of a parallel there. Strike first, with pleasure. Dark Wave basically just does what you expect it to do. Damages all the enemies, hurts Cecil, pretty much unchanged. Actually completely unchanged. Go back. Not going back. I only just started. Besides, what am I gonna get if I go back? A chocobo? Carrot? No thanks. Dark Wave! Boom! There's a sort of technique you can use to skip past the Mist Village using the tent. I don't recommend you do that in this hack. I put in a little surprise for people who try to do that. Originally I was thinking about like going out of my way to try to fix all those cheesy speedrun tactics, like, you know, item duplication and all that stuff, but it occurred to me, you know, like, no one who's playing the game normally is gonna think of doing that. Or, you know, they might, but whatever, like, you know, if someone wants to do that, that's fine. If they want to try to speedrun the game and use silly cheats or whatever to do it, then that's up to them. You know, it's not something that someone playing the game normally is going to accidentally do. They would have to, like, know that it exists and go out of their way to try to do it, so I figured. Whatever. It's not a huge priority. And also, like, Final Fantasy IV does seem to have a sort of little speedrunning community on the go, and I feel like if I were to fix all those bugs that make those speedruns possible, then I might just be, like, cutting off my audience a bit unnecessarily. Oh, I never did lance anything, did I? Should probably show that off. I don't know if it'll work on the Mist Dragon, or if it does, how effective it'll be, but... No, not very effective at all. But, you know, against normal monsters, it's pretty good. The Mist Dragon in this one is weak to dark. That's why Cecil's doing a ton of damage. Boom! Nice knowing you, Rydia's mom. We don't need a tent. I'll save anyway. I'm very save happy. I had sort of a huge wake-up call as a kid. I was playing through this game, and I didn't save very often. Nowhere near as often as I should have. And I got pretty far in the game and just hadn't bothered or remembered to save at all, and I died. Got wiped out, and it resumed the save, and I was way behind. And yeah, so I got burnt pretty bad. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go out of my way to save extra often now. Oh yeah, so the dialogue here has changed a little bit to reflect that I called her a summoner instead of a caller. I don't know, caller always sounded a little bit cheesy to me, but it makes it kind of awkward with the character limit. So in some places. Like her spell set in the menu is summon, S-U-M-N. And this little segment of dialogue is slightly differently as well. The original dialogue was a bit, I don't know, I found it a bit confusing as to what Kain was trying to say. So yeah, like he said something about rescuing Rosa here too, and it was not at all clear from the plot, like not even from people you talk to, let alone the main story part of the plot, that Rosa had done anything or gone anywhere. And it's sort of out of the blue. It's like, save Rosa from what? What happened to Rosa? Do you know something I don't, Kain? I get the feeling that like something was cut somewhere along the line, and that sort of explained, you know, the fact that Rosa tried to go after you or whatever it was that was supposed to happen. Summon! Quake! Oh no! Ow. But we're okay. Oh yeah, I did something a little interesting with Kain, plot-wise as well. I don't know how well it worked out, but I don't know. It is what it is. Anyway, I think I'm gonna save here and call that a segment for now.